Welcome back. In today's episode, part 2 of the interview with Loren Slocum. She addresses today the importance of staying true to yourself.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
We pick up where we left off. Tell me some of your most important habits during the day.
I do block times as much as I can.
Yes.
So my kids are in school. Well, Quinn starts at 6:45 in the morning, so I have to get a lot done. The first couple hours, in the morning, I'm in my car. I really use what we would call net time, no extra time.
Yep.
My daughter knows Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins probably better, and Eric Worre better than anybody out there. She could probably repeat all of their CDs, or DVDs, whatever you call them. Because I'm playing it all the time when they're in the car, right? I'm not listening to the radio. We're not listening to music. We're listening to personal development.
Podcast, right? This podcast.
Absolutely podcast. I love my son's got to help me know how to download all the podcasts. I'm in my car about 7 hours every single day. And I'm like, that's a great opportunity. So that's my office, is my car.
Yeah. Literally, the reason that I started this podcast in the very beginning was I have books and books that I started to journal about different things for my kids. And I said, when I'm not here, you're going to have all this information that you can tap into. Instead of spending the next 53 years trying to figure this stuff out, here it is. It's all condensed. And then I was like, wait a second. Why can't I get this out on tape, on audio, on the internet, and not just for my kids, but for anybody? So that was really the driver.
Look, I'm a mom. I'm busy doing other things, but whatever. I don't beat myself up for it either. I do have one day a month. It's probably a most important day, once again, because you got to clean up your own backyard before you clean up the community. And that's a luxury Loren day. And I do everything I need to do to take care of me, right?
I like that.
And I really believe that keeps me, like, I feel good about me. If I don't feel good about myself, how am I going to be able to help anybody else feel good about themselves? So that to me is a necessity. I think that's what peak performers do. They go get massages.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
They go make sure that they're, emotionally filled up, that they're doing all of those great things. So that's an important thing. But I use block time a lot, as I shared. Another thing is that I really set boundaries. I've gotten a lot better at setting boundaries. And my husband's helped me a lot with that because he's from the military, and it's all about boundaries and rules. And at first I didn't understand what that meant, but I realized that I had to have self-worth for myself and for my family and for my husband. And so at 7 o'clock, he's like, 7 o'clock, it's off. Phones are off, computers are off, it's family time.
Yeah.
And we're cooking and we're hanging out, and I like it. It's good for me. But what else it does is I go, well, geez, I got to really freaking hunker down during the day.
Right. You got to be productive.
I got to be really productive. So I also chunk my life by dots. I have different colored dots so I can look at a glance of what my calendar looks like for the year. I send it to so a couple of assistants that I have, they have copies of it. I send to my husband, I send it to my kids. So everybody's clear of what I've got going on, where I am in the world. Where's Waldo? Where's Loren?
Yeah. It is so important to carve out that time. The bedroom. I've got a bed and I have a light. There's no TV. There's no computer. There's nothing else.
That's awesome.
Bedrooms for two things.
Yeah. Exactly. So, you got to set, well, my big thing in my house is that I'm like the water queen. So I make sure that my, that my house is always stocked. Everybody's bedrooms are stocked with water. And it's a funny thing. People go, oh my gosh. And then I've got a little recycling bin. Everybody's got their own little recycling bin. But then I know, you know what? If they're hydrated before they go to bed, and then they're hydrated first thing in the morning, they're going to perform better.
Yes.
I'm telling you, my kids, my husband, myself, we all perform better because we're hydrated. And I literally I leave them out for everybody, and and then it's great. It's a fun thing. And people come to my house and they go, that's so cool. And I go, yeah, it's fun. And so that's, I think, the other thing. So I use block time a lot, where I'll do like calls or coaching calls or three-way calls or whatever that it is, and I'll do that from like 10 to 2.
And you're working efficiently, effectively with the virtual assistants as well.
Absolutely. I think virtual assistants are the most important thing. There was a girl years ago, her name's Elise. She helped me so much, and that's when I decided that's a non-negotiable. And that let people, like I said, let people stay in their gifts. I don't think you should create a strong weakness. If they're doing what they love, I mean, look at Nicole, I mean, your daughter, right? Yes. I mean, I was trying to put together when I met Nicole when I was in Fiji and she was crewing and she was just an unbelievable crew member. I'm like, oh my God, I love that. I love her energy. I love this and that. And I was trying to put together, collecting these pictures, and I needed a video done. And I'm like, can I just hire you, to help me do some of these things? I said, you look like you love working on the computer and you look like you love doing that. She goes, I do love doing that. And guess what? I took the stress off of me, which I'm not even good about doing those things that she's great at. And I learned a lot of things from her, and hopefully she learned a lot of things from me. And she's done a lot of projects. She's unbelievable at events. Like she's like Julie from the Love Boat, between her and Olivia, another girl that's here in Vegas. When I have them at conference with us, everybody feels taken care of. And that's why I said the most important thing, forget about you. Think about everybody else. Yeah. I don't think about, could I have one of them at the event? Sure, I could have one at the event, but if I'm going to have, more than 50 to, more than 100 people at an event, I'm going to need, 2 people there making sure to be their concierge so people can focus on what they need to focus on. That's an investment. Yeah. I think people need to look at things like coaches. A coach is an investment. It's a trainer is an investment, right? It's not an expense. It's an investment. And so people need to change their language as well about what they see. How much do things cost? How much is it worth? How much is it worth for you to have the quality time with your family or or yourself to go to the gym, right? What's it really worth for you? And I think that's the thing that also I've learned is the power of questions. Are you asking yourselves really great questions? Who do I love? Who loves me? What am I most excited about today? And asking yourself great questions is the most important thing as well.
Oh, it's key. I have a book coming out this fall, and the second book, which will be out, I don't know, the year after that, is all about questions.
Yep.
Questions are so powerful. Literally, I have thousands of them.
Yep. And then, what could this mean? Who could I help? Who could I serve? When you ask those kind of questions, you can be successful in anything. So you're asking about network marketing. People just aren't asking great questions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. I think Tony talks about a business mastery that 96% of traditional businesses fail the first year. By the end of 4 years, 99% of traditional businesses fail. I mean, you can look at it, you can see it. I just saw what Sports Authority and Sports Chalet closed because people are going online. You got to be resourceful. You have to be open to change too. I mean, change is inevitable. So
it's funny. I'll meet top executives and we'll start to get into the business plans. I'm like, so what are you trying to accomplish for the coming year? And they tell me everything that they're trying to get. And I said, what are you looking to give?
Yep.
What do you mean? I said, in order for you to get what you want, you have to give someone what they want.
Absolutely.
What is that? And it's fun. If more people went into business trying to figure out what they can give versus get, nowhere on this podcast have you heard me say one thing about anything. I have nothing for sale for you.
Right.
I do executive coaching and that sort of thing, but that's not the reason for this podcast. It's about me providing, hopefully, high value to the listeners.
Exactly. I agree. And, that's why the millennials, if you look why these millennials are so amazing, they look and they're looking for companies that give back, right? They're looking for people, they research in there. And I know when Josh or Quinn go buy something, they can tell me exactly where everything's made and who they've helped people with. And, like Tom's Shoes was brilliant at it at the very beginning, right? And now there's so many companies, that's leadership. That's servant leadership. I think there's only one kind of, real leadership, and that's servant leader. Are you serving? I mean, who was the best? Was Jesus was a great example of it, right? You go out there, you serve, you teach people to fish. you look at what these companies, they're giving back, so how are you really giving back? And you got to find out what people want and give it to them, right?
That's the key. Yep.
Find out what they want, not what you want.
Yes.
And I think that's been my problem in the past as well, is that I was so emotionally attached to what I thought people wanted, instead of really finding out what they wanted.
Yeah.
And I think we sometimes can get so emotionally attached to things that we're not open to finding out what they want.
Yeah, and it applies in all aspects. When I started dating again, I'd go out on a date and I said, "What do you want?"
Yep.
They're like, "What do you mean, what do I want?" I was like, "Well, what's important to you? What's important about a relationship?" And they're like, "You're weird."
Okay, this isn't the relationship for me. But, it's funny that you bring that up, because this is something that served. I don't know if you remember this when you came to Life Mastery, but I think when I first met, my kid's dad, I so wanted to be loved that I would compromise even things that were important to me, because I wanted him to like me so much.
Yes.
And he was such a nice guy. I was like, oh my God, he's such a nice guy, And I was like, I don't want to screw this up, So I would.
Not a good question.
I would hang on to some things that I really did, that did make me happy, but I didn't want him to think I was going to be high maintenance. So one day I was all cranky. He's like, what's up with you? I go, I want flowers. And he said, well, you said you didn't want flowers. I go, well, I didn't mean it. And I was like, well, he's like, what? And I'm like, I want flowers. So I got in this new relationship with my husband, who I met at baggage claim. Those of you might know. I met him at baggage claim almost 4.5 years. I met him in October 2011.
And for the single ladies out there, which baggage claim was it?
That was in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yes, that was.
Is that like a known place to find husbands?
I not that I know. I mean, you can find a lot of things there, but I don't know about husbands there. And I was really honest with them. I go, I got to tell you, he's like, what does it, take to make it work? And I really learned that from Keith Cunningham, because, Keith went up to his wife, Sandy, and he goes, just tell me everything that you need. I told him, I said, I need flowers. And he goes, okay. I go, I need flowers every Friday. And he goes, okay. And that for the whole time we've been together, I've gotten flowers every Friday. And it's not like it has to be some huge bouquet of flowers. When I'm on the road, he'll take a picture of a flower in the backyard, or he'll draw a picture of a flower. It's just the fact that it matters.
Yes.
That those things, that it matters to him. And I feel so loved and appreciated by him. But I think lots of times we do need to speak up a lot more, of what's really going on. And whether it be our career or relationships, our health.
Tell me about a time you need to make a business decision or a personal decision, and there didn't seem to be any win here. Somebody was going to get hurt or lose in the situation. Didn't feel good. How did you come to that decision?
How did I get to that decision? It was by questions that I was asking. And like I said, I think that probably one of my weakest things that I would say about myself in the past was that I was a people pleaser, big time, and I wanted to make everybody happy, even if it compromised my values sometimes. Right. I mean, I remember we were just talking about this. I was talking to a friend about this last night, because something happened with her daughter. And I remember when I was in the 2nd grade and I stole some cigarettes from my grandmother's convenience store, 2nd grade. And I went behind the movie theater with my friends. I didn't know, my parents didn't smoke. My parents didn't drink. I had no desire to do it. But some kids were talking about that they wanted to try a cigarette. So I did something that was totally against my values. And then I did this and I got in trouble and the whole thing. But I think that a pattern up until very recently for me was about being a pleaser. My husband has a very, very high profile job. And I had to, somebody was doing some work with me, some writing. And they went up to me, they asked me if I had people sign a, what do you call it, like a
non-disclosure, NDA?
non-disclosure, non-disparagement, whatever that you call it. And I'm like, no. He goes, Loren, are you freaking crazy? Are you kidding me? He goes, he got really upset with me. It's somebody I used to work with at Robbins, and he goes, you have to do that. He goes, you just don't know. I'm like, but I know everybody. I like everybody. And he's like, Loren, you have to do it. It was a very hard thing for me because I didn't want people to feel like that I didn't trust them. But I realized, my husband's job's very sensitive. I remember saying something once to my mom, and I told my husband that I said something, and he goes, you just told your mom that. He goes, and I deal with this, and you told your mom that. And I go, what's the big deal? He goes, because now you just made my job harder. And I didn't get the consequences of things. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So I didn't understand consequences, God forbid, if something were to go wrong with things. I had to do this just because I knew, not just for me, but for my husband and my family and everything else, that I had to do that. And some people, it was misinterpreted by them at all. It wasn't about them. It was about, about business. Because I want to make everybody happy. I haven't done some of the right things business-wise. And it's hard because my friendships, I value my friendships more than anything. More than anything. I have to make sure that I understand consequences, and God forbid, something were to happen where it puts somebody at risk. I don't know if I'm willing to do that.
Sure.
That was hard. And then I had to just sit back and just reevaluate and really look at, who am I? What do I really stand for? What am I all about? Am I staying, once again, I'm going to keep going back to, am I staying true to what matters? How do I want to be seen in the world by people?
Awesome.
That's what I had to do.
How do you determine what to say yes to? And it might be the same answer.
I think sometimes when I get too emotional about things, I say yes to things maybe I shouldn't. When I actually ask myself the question, is this the right thing? Am I staying true? Then it's usually yes.
Yeah.
Eric Worre has a great line. He says, say yes, tell the world, figure it out. Right? That's his whole thing. I say yes to a lot of things, and people go, you freaking said yes to something else? Don't you think you have enough on your plate?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'll figure it out. That's always been my belief. Is like, yeah, okay, I'll figure it out. I've had freaking this whole resources. I've been using Elance for the past 15 years. People want to help. I just want to find people that they're great. I have a great guy that does flyers. He's worked with me for 6 years. Once again, virtual assistants like Nicole, and they're amazing. They love what they do. And it always feels good for me to recommend people. I love recommending people. And that makes me very, very happy. So, or there's some great people that I've worked with that do AV work or, video, whatever, that I just love it. I love seeing them thrive. I love seeing people thrive.
Yeah, I do too. What's the worst advice you've ever been given and you actually took it?
Happened recently. People, it was actually with regards to my daughter. She's at a very interesting age where she's kind of growing tall and then kind of going wide as well. And at the same time, everybody kept saying to me, don't say anything to her. You're gonna cause her to have an eating disorder if you say something to her. So I didn't for about 2 years, right? I didn't say anything. Now, how hard that is for me because that's foundationally very important for me. I let her get a little lazy with working out, to do that. Her diet is good, but I got a little lazy with that. So everybody said, I don't want her to develop an eating disorder. And then a couple weeks ago, I actually freaking woke up and I go, come on, Loren, you know that Asher loves you. You know that she knows that you're here to be here for her no matter what. And it's all how I frame it. And I went up to her, I go, Ash, I love you so much. I go, you are such a rock star. What's great? You're so talented. You're so this. You're hilarious. People love being around you. I love how you think about, taking care of the dogs before you even, eat anything. I love how, that you always go for a piece of fruit or how you take care of this and that. And I go, and Ash, you know what? I know you like playing that game with your friend online, but you know what? I'm going to start taking my health to the next level. I'm going to get really, really fit so that, this summer, I said, let's start doing this. I got somebody that we're going to do meal prep with, and we're going to do this. And she's like, okay.
Great.
So now she has her own freaking personal trainer.
Nice.
And she goes to the gym. She walks in this gym, and everybody, and I don't go with her. And she goes by herself, and she's on the rowing machine, and she's pushing the sled, and she was in the Zumba class last night. And I was like, oh my God, Loren, I can't believe you bought into that.
Yeah.
And but I'm glad that I'm glad I woke up. And I think that our job as peak performers and coaches and everything that we do is to wake up. But the more important thing is to stay awake, because most people fall asleep at the wheel of life, right? And they lose that hunger. They lose that vision. They lose that, Goya. They lose it. And so you got to stay awake.
Absolutely. So that was the worst advice. What's the best advice you've ever received?
I think probably the thing that made the biggest difference for me was when was a quote that Tony said. Well, there's a couple. Can I have a couple?
Yeah. Throw them in.
One was, don't let your rear view mirror be your guide. The past, you can't do anything about it.
I like that.
So don't let your rear view mirror be your guide. And I think the classic one for me that really made me think is, who you surround yourself with is who you become. So choose wisely.
Yes.
And I really look at, who am I really spending time with? Am I doing it just to be a pleaser? Just because, or am I really, really choosing my peer group wisely? They don't have to do proximity-wise. It doesn't mean they need to even be here in town. I connect every single day with a friend of mine who I met 15 years ago. She lives in Australia. Every day I talk to her, every single day, right? And another person is in Florida. Another person is in New York. Another person's in LA. I mean, I look at my peers and I choose them very carefully. But I sometimes I'll feel like things just creeping back in. And so I've got to be careful. I've got to know the difference between acquaintances and just my real peer group. And I'll tell you something interesting as well. I used to invite everybody over to my house. I'll have anybody over to my house, like, when you're in town, when you're in Vegas, I'll say, hey, come on over.
Would you like to announce that to the audience?
Come on over. We'll have a one. I actually don't have a problem. I want people to see real. It's very important for me to see that I have, my 16-year-old dog that he's in the house and poops in the house, and I have to, take him outside and as the phone's ringing, and I want them to see that life is life. It's not all perfect.
Yes.
I want them to see though that I'm with the things that I've created, that I'm able to do, have a housekeeper that I pay for, or that I want them to see that. But
and you bring up such a great point here, Loren, because what happens is, as you're trying to figure out what your peer group needs to be, you personally, you're trying to figure out people that are performing at a level above you. And what happens is every year or every month, every week, people are trying to get into your peer group because you're performing better than they are. So it's a natural progression. It always happens.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't fault them. They're just doing what you're doing. You're just trying to get the next one.
Exactly. No, you can't fault them at all. I respect them.
Yeah.
For that. I just want to see them get off their ass and do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm about action. I'm probably now, to a fault as well, I'm probably sometimes fire, aim, ready, with regards to things. Yeah. I'm not so much, but I know a lot of people, which is like ready. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, come on, let's do something.
Go.
Right?
Yeah.
You know that big idea you had? It went right over there.
I had
another guy's taking it away.
Yeah. I had to launch this podcast, before I was good at it. Listen to episode 1, but I had to do something. It had to start somewhere.
Absolutely. And Eric Worre said something great on his GoPro CDs. And he talks about, you want to get great at doing a meeting? Do more meetings. You want to get great at doing this? Do more of that. The only way that you're going to get better is, if you go out there, you're not going to go to the gym once expecting to get great results, right? So you got to do them consistently.
Yeah.
That builds that momentum That's why it's so important. Momentum is key to anything. The minute that you start losing momentum, I mean, what happens in your body when you lose that momentum? What happens when your relationships, if you don't, keep honoring them, or my husband doesn't keep sending me flowers or whatever, that I don't continue to do deeds of service for him, you lose that momentum.
Yes.
Right. So I think, that just who you surround yourself with is such an important thing.
It is. So Loren, tell the audience how they can get a hold of you, things that you're working on.
Well, the first thing they could do is they can reach out, obviously, on the fan page, which is Loren Slocum. And they can also go to my website, which is Loren, Loren, Slocum.com. And we got newsletters, we got free ebooks. You can see about upcoming events we've got going on. You can hear about the new projects that we have, which is I'm working on a book with Joss right now and Quinn called The Courage to Raise a Gentleman. And I'm getting ready to launch in a real fun group for moms. So back to my mommy part.
Nice.
The part that I get my most fulfillment.
Well, you're an amazing author, so thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you so much, Thor, for being a great friend and for getting out there and doing your passion. I really appreciate you and just how you live your life, and you're so congruent with everything that you do as well.
Well, thank you. And it's one thing that I needed to make sure that my house was in order before I started this journey, and it continues to get cleaned up along the way. But it's really been great doing this, because I know every time I step in front of this microphone, I've got to make sure that I'm the example. So it's really helped me raise my game.
Well, just remember to always stay true to who you are, every doggone day of your life.
I love it. Well, we are at the part where we go through a rapid fire execution round. We normally have 12 questions, but you are such a peak performer that there might be more than 12. And if you want to pass, you can say pass.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. What's your top priority in life?
My health.
What time do you start your day?
5:30.
How old were you when you knew you could be successful?
When I was 12 years old.
Your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
Taking a bath.
Person's phone call that you will always take?
My kids.
The person you trust to tell you the truth, even if it's something you don't want to hear?
My son, Joss.
Most meaningful book you've ever read?
A Man's Search for Meaning.
Most useful app you're currently using?
Facebook.
Name the skill you're most proud of?
Resourcefulness.
Name the one thing you'd like to learn in the next 6 months.
How to sing.
One thing you were told that turned out to be the most true.
That I can do anything.
Name one thing you weren't too good at 5 years ago, but today you're pretty good at it.
Say no.
What's the most impactful speaker you've ever heard, and what did he or she say?
Tony Robbins. It's in your moments of decision that your destiny is shaped.
Any parting advice for our listeners?
Stay true.
You are awesome. Thank you very much. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, Thor. You too.
Question of the day. Where in your life have you not been staying true to who you are? Call to action. What steps do you need to take now in order to change that and get back in alignment with the true you? If you've not already done so, please subscribe to the show. Go to iTunes, subscribe, download the episodes. After listening to the episodes, please leave us a 5-star rating. Please share this episode with family, friends, coworkers, or anyone that could benefit from this information. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. While at the website, please sign up for our weekly newsletter. If you have any comments or questions, please send them to info@thorconklin.com. Remember, these episodes are designed to be between 6 and 35 minutes, to be consumed during dot time doing other things. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do, and until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.